10's Late News with George Donikian.
Heading the late news, the frantic search for survivors scaled down as an unknown group says it bombed 2 American embassies in Africa. Labor attacks government plans to sell its tax reforms, and surprises and records at Australia's biggest fun run. Good evening. First tonight, at least 160 people are now known to have died in the bombings at 2 American embassies in Africa. A group demanding the release of an Islamic cleric jailed in New York says it carried out the attacks. Meanwhile, the search for survivors continues after Israeli teams found one man buried alive for 36 hours.
For much of the day, the mountain of wreckage was picked at in a relatively disorganized...
10 News.
Yes, good luck. Still ahead, today's main stories from around the world with another tragic car boot accident and a snag in stockbroker Steve Fawcett's bid to float around the world. Another American community is reeling after the deaths of 5 young girls, aged between 2 and 6. The girls suffocated after locking themselves in a car boot while playing.
A Salt Lake City suburb on a quiet afternoon.
Hopes to circumnavigate the southern hemisphere within 3 weeks. When 10's Late News continues, the big clean-up begins after 4 days of wild weather along the east coast, and Western Australian youngsters helping to save our environment. People around New South Wales are still mopping up after 4 days of wild winds and pouring rain. Some 2,000 Sydney homes are still without power, but west of the capital, recovery will take much longer.
4 days of torrential rain did this to Bathurst.
Anthony Robertson, 10 News.
Still to come, the latest weather details. Rose Porteous-Hancock trying a new tack, and sports tonight with Matthew White. Matthew?
Thanks, George. Tonight, all the rugby league, of course, some AFL, the Super Tourers, we've got tennis, and also our latest sprint sensation is on his way to the Commonwealth Games.
Now to the weather, and today saw the fine weather continue around Cairns, Townsville and Brisbane, while Sydney was cloudy but not wet. Canberra was fine, cloud over Hobart, Melbourne and Adelaide, clear skies for Perth and across the centre and up to the top end. Satellite shows conditions finally improving around the southeastern corner, although there's still some scattered cloud, as you can see. Now it's mainly due to that high now dominating the continent and pushing the crook weather well out into the Tasman. Tomorrow, well, we should see another fine and mild day in Cairns, Townsville and Brisbane. Cloudy periods, but mainly fine in Sydney. Early fog in Canberra. Rain developing around Hobart. Fine for Melbourne. Skies clearing around Adelaide. Showers developing in Perth, but remaining fine across the centre and again in the top end. The widow of mining magnate Lang Hancock is adding another string to her bow. On top of all her other interests, Rose Hancock Porteous is now turning her hand to fashion.
Langsby, 10 News.
And that's all in 10's Late News for the moment. Don't forget our next national bulletin with Jason Cameron coming up 11:30 in the morning. But stay with us now for Sports Tonight with Matthew White. For the 10 News team, George Donikian. Good night.